EnChroma CEO Eric Ritchie has released a video in response to my two-part investigation, and the response is precisely what you would expect from a company that profits from scamming the visually impaired. Rather than directly addressing the legitimate issues laid out in my series, EnChroma has gone all in on their scam. They've doubled down on their independent scientific research, they've denied censoring negative reviews on their website, and they're even standing behind the infamous staged reaction video, which until today remains live on their website. Thankfully, no one is buying their BS anymore, and the public saw straight through it. The backlash was epic. An onslaught of negative comments flooded their video. It was a disaster of proportions so large, EnChroma was forced to do what they do best, hitting the delete button. But more importantly, there have been several bombshell developments in this investigation. I've obtained compelling evidence suggesting that EnChroma received $1.2 million in federal funding based on 3 grant applications which contained inaccurate scientific models. That's not all though. I've recently been in contact with the FDA, and now not only am I confident that EnChroma is violating federal law, but I've also stumbled across evidence suggesting that they themselves have known this for years. Now, I have some great news about this investigation. Careless, the scam company that was selling the $4 color corrective glasses from China, has been taken down. This is a massive win for the colorblind community because this product was literally a scam and their claims were blatantly fraudulent. The scammer, known as Mohammed Amin Al-Amri, owns and operates multiple dropshipping scams, some of which still remain live today. I suspect the takedown was in response to a fraud complaint I submitted to Shopify, which is where the store was hosted. If you'd like to support my journalistic work and help make a positive impact, please consider supporting me on Patreon. So let's get into EnChroma's response video entitled Facts About EnChroma Glasses. Now, the first 2 minutes of this video is basically just Eric doing a terrible job at explaining what color blindness is. He then pivots to explaining how EnChroma glasses work and who they work for. And he uses some of the tamest marketing language I've ever seen EnChroma use.
EnChroma's patented notch filter glasses are designed to help about 80% of people with red-green color blindness see an expanded range of visible colors and distinguish shades more accurately.
Now, when I first saw this, I thought, all right, perhaps EnChroma has learned a lesson and will dial it down on the misleading marketing claims. But no, EnChroma has continued posting one misleading advert after another since the release of this video. And I really shouldn't be surprised because EnChroma have contradicted themselves like this for years. They use moderate marketing language when and where it's most appropriate, but will shamelessly contradict themselves in their advertising material immediately afterwards.
We didn't design our glasses as a cure for color blindness.
Are you sure about that, Eric? Because when EnChroma announced its launch on Reddit and targeted the colorblind community, that's exactly how you framed your glasses. Or am I simply misinterpreting the term fix? That sure sounds like some sort of cure to me. Now, while that was a decade ago, if we fast forward to today, they still make similar claims, but rather than making the claims themselves, EnChroma relies on influencers to carry that torch for them. Just recently, EnChroma shared a story on their Instagram with the following caption: "He got me colorblind correcting glasses. Hashtag Deuteranopia." Now, they have done this time and time again, and whenever there's backlash, EnChroma just play the scapegoat card and go, hey, we can't control what our customers say. Example, a user on Reddit once called out EnChroma on this very issue, to which the EnChroma account replied, "We wish we could tell every person to change their titles and not say seeing color for the first time, because we understand that our glasses do not allow for that." That is an absolute load of BS. When EnChroma finds these videos with misleading headlines, rather than educating the influencer and asking them to correct the claim, they slide into their DMs and offer them a free pair of glasses in exchange for permission to use that content as advertising material. And when Logan Paul claimed their glasses cured his colorblindness, did EnChroma kindly ask Logan to correct his title? Of course not. EnChroma embedded the video directly into their website. Not exactly the best strategy for combating misinformation about your product, is it? Great strategy for making money though. By the way, this Reddit account is an absolute goldmine of unfiltered interactions between EnChroma and their customers. The account appears to have been managed by EnChroma's former CEO, Tony Dykes, providing a fascinating window into how the company engaged with and manipulated the colorblind community from day one. Many of the comments reveal internal thoughts on issues EnChroma probably should have kept to themselves. My personal favorite is where EnChroma acknowledged that the FDA doesn't allow them to say that their glasses let users see new colors. Therefore, they don't make that claim. Yet here we are 9 years later, and EnChroma is making exactly that claim. Unsurprisingly, that comment has since been deleted by EnChroma. I wonder why. But let's circle back to the FDA a little later. Now, in my last video, I spoke about the media's role in perpetuating the scam and how we need to be more critical of what we consume and share online. But not everyone has the time or means to sift through a constant flood of headlines, which is why I'm really excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Ground News. Ground News aggregates related news articles from around the world, enabling you to compare how different publications cover the same story. What's really cool about this is you can view the political leanings of each outlet, the reliability of their reporting, and even their ownership information. This allows you to obtain a more informed perspective on important news. Check out the story on SpaceX's recent Starship launch. With Ground News, I can see it's been reported on by over 120 different news sources. And they give me a visual breakdown showing the political leanings of those outlets. I particularly love their Biased Insights feature, which summarizes the variances in reporting between publications on the left and right. It's actually really insightful. If I want to dig deeper, I can compare every article to see how the issue is being framed by different outlets. I can even filter by the most reliable sources. This ability to easily cross-reference sources and learn about any topic from multiple perspectives is a game changer. To check it out, go to ground.news/megalag. If you subscribe through my link, you'll get 40% off unlimited access to the Vantage subscription. By subscribing, not only are you supporting my channel, but you're supporting an independent platform dedicated to making the news more transparent. Speaking of transparency, let's see what Eric had to say about the scientific evidence backing their glasses.
Many leading color vision scientists have researched our glasses. We reference some of the studies on our site. These studies were done independently, were not paid for by EnChroma, and we didn't influence the studies.
It blows my mind that EnChroma is sticking with the narrative that these studies were done independently. Let's set the record straight here. EnChroma donated the glasses for both these studies. This paper is only a brief communication and wasn't peer-reviewed. This is the only paper that was peer-reviewed, and it was co-authored by Dr. Kenneth Knobloch, an EnChroma shareholder who previously worked for them as a consultant. How is that independent? Also, what is this, Eric? This isn't even a paper. It's a survey about color blindness in schools that has nothing to do with science or the effectiveness of their glasses. It's hilarious they snuck that in there in a desperate attempt to bulk out the optics. Now, coming back to this peer-reviewed paper, let's not forget, I interviewed the co-author, Dr. Knobloch, and despite being a shareholder, even he agreed that EnChroma mischaracterized the findings of his paper. And since the release of that interview, EnChroma has quietly removed that mischaracterization from their website. They went from claiming participants were able to identify and experience color in all its hues to identify and experience expanded color. Lol. Which basically just means the glasses make low saturated colors appear more saturated. Now, given EnChroma is run by several scientists, either they knowingly mischaracterized Dr. Knobloch's paper, or their scientists just weren't smart enough to understand what his paper concluded. So which is it, Eric? Now, Eric was right about one thing though. Many leading vision scientists have researched their glasses, but none of them have found that EnChroma's glasses allow for new color experiences. Here's a more accurate depiction of the current scientific consensus. All of these studies have researched EnChroma's glasses, and none of them have found that EnChroma's glasses allowed for new color experiences. That's why EnChroma never references them, because their findings don't shine a positive light on their product. To be clear, there are no papers supporting this claim. But if it turns out I'm wrong and anyone watching this knows of a paper that does prove it, please send it to me. Seriously. In fact, before this investigation went live on YouTube, I sent EnChroma a long email detailing the findings of my investigation. And when addressing my concerns of their advertising claims, rather than providing scientific evidence, EnChroma cited their return policy. Yeah. You really know you've hit the bedrock of scientific integrity when your strongest rebuttal to skepticism is, hey, at least you can get your money back. I should also mention that before uploading my series, I offered EnChroma the chance to have a genuine discussion with their leadership, alongside any color vision scientist of their choosing. This felt like the most appropriate way for me to let you, the viewer, hear both sides of the story. But they declined. And to be honest, I'm not surprised, because I doubt any vision scientist would be willing to go on the record and risk their reputation by backing absurd claims that defy well-established scientific principles. But if there are any color vision scientists watching this that believe there is some truth to EnChroma's claims of experiencing new colors, by all means, please reach out to me. I'll happily interview you and hear your opposing view. Now, where were we?
Our chief science officer and co-founder received 3 grants from the National Institutes of Health, which helped us to develop our technology.
I'm glad you mentioned those grants, Eric, because it's only fair that American taxpayers learn about how those grants were obtained. It's true, Don McPherson was awarded 3 grants by the National Eye Institute through the Small Business Innovation Research Program. The grants totaled $823,000 in federal funding, although according to the Small Business Administration, the actual amount was closer to $1.2 million. These funds were used for the research and development of EnChroma's first products. And to tell you more about how those grants were obtained, here's the man who applied for them, EnChroma's very own Chief Science Officer, Don McPherson.
Let me put it this way. I submitted grant applications which were all funded. There was a bunch of them, in which I had a model of color vision deficiency, color correction, and color normal vision, which was not correct.
Wait, what?
Which was not correct. But the people who were reviewing it had no idea.
How interesting.
Even though they were like connected to the National Eye Institute, because it's really obtuse and kind of hard to fathom.
What the actual f***? So let me get this straight. Don goes on the record admitting he submitted a bunch of grant applications with inaccurate scientific models. But the folks at the National Eye Institute, who were tasked with reviewing his application, didn't really understand the science, therefore couldn't pick up on its flaws. So they just handed Don the money. Awesome! I'm sure American taxpayers watching will be thrilled to hear this. Given everything we've learned about this company, it's just so fitting to learn that EnChroma's very existence was built on a foundation of inaccurate science. Per Don's own admission, this $1.2 million was instrumental in building EnChroma. In his own words, if it wasn't for the NIH SBIR program, this product wouldn't exist. Nobody would have funded this basic research. Not only does this admission cast yet another big fat question mark on EnChroma's scientific integrity, but this also raises serious questions as to how inaccurate data was able to go undetected by the National Eye Institute. Don also admits in this interview that he submitted his grant applications not really understanding how his scientific discovery worked.
I knew the glasses, the laser safety glasses worked. And so based on that, I submitted a proposal to the National Eye Institute. But I actually didn't really understand how they worked. And I didn't know a thing about vision science. I mean, I knew like this much, you know.
I mean, how on earth was $1.2 million taxpayer dollars given to a guy who didn't understand the fundamentals of color vision science? There are serious questions surrounding this revelation that I believe demand answers from all involved. Moving on.
We receive numerous reviews and ratings on our website. We act in accordance with the Consumer Review Fairness Act, and we regularly review our policies and procedures to ensure that all reviews from verified customers, good or bad, are posted.
That's a load of bullshit. A buddy of mine in Europe wanted to try EnChroma's glasses, so purchased a pair. They didn't work for him, so he submitted a negative review on their website. I told him to document it for me, and surprise, surprise, again, it was never published. And when trying to get a refund, he sent an email to EnChroma, which they never replied to. He then sent an additional 6 follow-up emails, all of which were ignored by EnChroma. He was then forced to call EnChroma's customer support in Europe, but nobody answered his calls. This left him having to resort to calling their customer support number in the US before a refund was given. Many users on Trustpilot have reported a similar issue, with some customers being forced to contact a lawyer or their credit card company. Doesn't exactly sound like a very smooth process.
We believe transparency and open dialogue is essential to maintaining the trust of our community. We also want to hear from you, so please share your own experiences and thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, mate, loving the open dialogue. Moving on, let's dive into EnChroma's compliance with the FDA. Now you might be wondering, why on earth would the Food and Drug Administration regulate glasses? Well, besides food and drugs, the FDA also oversees medical devices. And yes, certain types of glasses are considered medical devices in the USA. So what does this mean for EnChroma, who as they put it, sell colorblind correcting glasses? Curious, I looked up EnChroma on the FDA's database and discovered that their non-prescription glasses were registered as sunglasses. Now at the time, I knew very little about the FDA and what exactly they regulated. So I just thought, yeah, okay, I suppose that makes sense. EnChroma's glasses do technically filter out light, so I just presumed they were compliant. But one day I was like, nah, you know what? Let's go back and take a closer look at this. And boy, I'm glad that I did. Now, the evidence I'm about to share with you is pretty damning. However, I want to make it crystal clear that any claims I make against EnChroma are based on my interpretation of the emails between myself and the FDA and publicly available information. To say the obvious, it's ultimately up to the FDA to decide whether or not a company is compliant, not me. So as I started delving deeper into this topic, I came across this FDA guidance document for non-prescription sunglasses. And in this document, the FDA explains that companies cannot make health-related marketing claims about sunglasses if those claims don't fit within the general intended purpose of sunglasses. For absolute clarity, the FDA defines sunglasses as a device that is intended to be worn by a person to protect the eyes from bright sunlight, but not to provide refractive corrections. The FDA also provide examples of health-related marketing claims that would go beyond the scope of that definition, such as for the use in the treatment of color blindness. So the rules are pretty straightforward. If you register your medical device as sunglasses, you can't go marketing them with unsubstantiated therapeutic claims, especially when those claims have never been approved by the FDA for that specific product type. If you want to do that, this document explains that the FDA requires you to submit what's known as a pre-market notification. Now, this basically means you have to go through a more formal process of getting your device cleared by the FDA, and it's not easy. It costs a lot of money, it can take a long time, and you have to provide the FDA with a ton of information about your product, like details about how your technology works, what your proposed marketing claims are, etc., etc. But even if you have the time and money to go through this process, it's not guaranteed that the FDA will grant clearance for your device. Why? Because you also have to back your proposed marketing claims with valid scientific evidence. If you can't do that, well, the FDA is not going to allow you to make those marketing claims. And as we all know, science isn't exactly one of EnChroma's strong points. So with this in mind, and considering that EnChroma's claims do go well beyond what you'd expect from a regular pair of sunglasses, I decided to reach out to the FDA to get some clarification. In my email, I highlighted the relevant parts of their guidance and provided several examples of EnChroma's marketing claims. This included 3 Facebook ads, their old slogan, and a quote from Don McPherson explaining the science behind their glasses. I then asked if any of those claims would necessitate pre-market notification, and the FDA replied with the following. Your interpretation of the guidance is correct. There are not currently any FDA-cleared color deficiency lenses for non-prescription use. Such claims would need to be reviewed by the FDA. So yeah, there's not a lot of ambiguity in that response. If the FDA haven't cleared any color deficiency lenses for non-prescription use, that suggests to me that not only is EnChroma violating FDA regulations, but so is every other company selling non-prescription color deficiency lenses. But what about EnChroma's prescription glasses? Well, those are registered under the product code NAI, which is a product class described as prescription color deficiency lenses. Now, unfortunately, the FDA doesn't have a guidance document for this specific product classification. Therefore, figuring out what marketing claims have been approved by the FDA for this device type required a bit more digging. But what I found is that this product code was first awarded to a company by the name of ColorMax in 1999. And the FDA physicist that approved this device, Bruce Drum, wrote a paper detailing the situation. In his paper, Drum explains that when ColorMax applied for FDA clearance, their proposed labeling and marketing claims implied that their glasses could correct or cure color blindness. But the FDA found that the scientific evidence available did not support these claims. Regardless, the FDA allowed them to sell their glasses glasses, but on the condition that they adhered to very strict marketing restrictions. Those restrictions were no labeling or promotional claims that suggest their lenses provide normal color vision to its users, and they must mention that any enhancements to color discrimination will be at the expense of other colors. Now, it's not exactly clear whether or not those rules applied to other manufacturers using the same product code. However, based on this information, we know that the only new therapeutic claim approved by the FDA was an improvement to color discrimination. Therefore, marketing claims that go beyond this description, like the ability to see new colors, are likely to be non-compliant. This is made clear in the US Code of Federal Regulations, 21 CFR 886.9. Now, the concerning thing about all of this is that EnChroma themselves appear to have come to the exact same conclusion as me. They've spoken about the FDA's regulations multiple times on Reddit, often citing Bruce Drumm's paper on ColorMax. In this one Reddit comment, EnChroma says that anyone else following in ColorMax's footsteps is exempt from pre-market notification, as long as their marketing claims do not exceed the existing ones. And EnChroma have literally registered their prescription glasses under the same product code that was awarded to ColorMax. Now, if we circle back to that Reddit comment I showed you earlier, EnChroma clearly understood that they weren't allowed to make claims, insinuating that their customers could see new colors with their product. But they've since deleted that comment and have continued to make that claim in their advertising. So all things considered, yes, I'm very confident that EnChroma are knowingly breaking the rules here. And given this has been going on for over 10 years now and nothing's been done about it, I've taken it upon myself to file a complaint of regulatory misconduct with the FDA. The complaint contains a long list of misleading marketing claims, adverts, and quotes from interviews, etc. I've also filed a complaint of research misconduct to the National Institute of Health, because I believe Americans deserve to know why $1.2 million of their hard-earned money was handed to a guy with flawed scientific models. And I also can't ignore the blatant lies and misleading advertising that EnChroma has perpetuated throughout the years, which has undoubtedly harmed the colorblind community. Therefore, I'm also in the process of filing complaints with consumer protection regulators like the FTC, ACCC, and ASA. EnChroma clearly have no plans on ending this nonsense, and I feel it's about time someone did something about it. My patrons will be the first to receive any updates on this, but I'll also be sharing updates publicly on Twitter and YouTube. This investigation is not over yet. I very much plan on seeing this through to the end, so stay tuned.